Hi, my name is Annie and this is my model, and today I want to talk about emotional dependency. Okay, this is my idea. Don't date young. Don't. Because this is the time where you are still discovering yourself, you are still finding yourself, and it's weird because it's kind of become ingrained in our society that people date. Like if you're 18 and you haven't had a boyfriend yet or a girlfriend, and you haven't kissed anyone, you haven't done this, you haven't done that, anything romantic, you're considered weird. It's oh, you haven't done that yet. What's wrong with you is kind of thought of as the go to type explanation. Either you're unattractive, you're unappealing, something is wrong because you have not dated yet. I think that's fucked up. And I think that it is a totally wrong mentality to have in our culture because it kind of sets people off looking for dating people. I remember in middle school, I was like, oh my God, I haven't had a boyfriend. If I don't have a boyfriend by the end of eighth grade, that's just it's like we are taught from an early age that this is what we should be seeking out. This is what adults should be doing, young adults. And we should be practicing for that, dating, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, no. No, 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 no. I don't agree. I don't think our teenagers should be spent dating. I don't think that our early adult years should be spent dating either if you're not ready. And I think that the majority of us are not ready. Because this is the time, as I said before, to be finding ourselves. When you enter a relationship, you are working to make this bond work between you and the person of your choosing. And chances are you really, really want it to work because you pursued them in the first place and you made the commitment in the first place. And this is where things tend to get a bit challenging because at this point, people are usually not completely sure of themselves. They're not as confident as they will grow to be one day. They don't really know themselves. And I think that when you get into a relationship at that young age, you are much more likely to become emotionally dependent on the other person. And what I mean by this is they complete you, but not in a good way, in a bad way. Because for those people who are like, oh, they complete me, but it's like a healthy relationship, it's because the other person compliments them. They're their support system. They are their number one fan. They are their best buddy, their best friend. And alone, you stand as a brilliant person, but when you're with this other person, it's like they make what's brilliant about you shine. And so you guys both kind of feed off of each other's positive energy. And it's nice because it spurs more positivity, and that's what makes the relationship so great. Now, when you get into a relationship at a young age, you're more likely to become emotionally dependent, and this leads to quite the opposite happening. Basically, if you're, let's use 14-year-old Annie as an example. So, Annie was once in a pretty bad relationship because young Annie was in a pretty bad relationship because she kind of put her whole emotional stability onto how another person was treating her. So basically, if everything was good in the relationship, everything was good in Annie's life. It didn't matter if she was having a bad day or if someone said something mean to her or if she failed a test because she had the other person to kind of pick her up. And now this is good if you're healthy and can stand on your own, but this can become problematic when you never knew how to stand on your own in the first place. I didn't know how to deal with negative feelings towards myself. If I did something poorly, I just took it out on myself more than I deserved. I was very critical of myself, something that I learned from mis padres. But anyways, so essentially I did not know how to stand alone, but being with this partner, she made me feel better, and that's where I got emotional strength from. So then when it came to a point where I realized she was doing more damage than good, I had become so addicted, so dependent on the good the little good that she had been providing me that I did not want to leave. Like, it seemed impossible. I could not picture my life without this support system for me, which she was, but in a way that was damaging myself in the long run because I was never learning to appreciate myself and love myself. I was letting her do all the loving of myself for me, and that is where all the problems arose. And that is why I am so yikes about young relationships, because I know it is so easy to turn down that road when we're still young and vulnerable. So it's not that I don't believe that young love exists. Oh, I believe it exists. I've experienced it. But you need to be careful, and I strongly advise against it if you haven't found yourself yet, if you don't love yourself yet. I used to always look at that whole quote thing. What is it? Before you let anyone love you, love yourself so no one has to, that kind of thing. And before I was kind of like, okay, but it's normal for people to seek out love. In my opinion, I thought that love was kind of like the most important thing that there is in life. And it's true, but not from another person. It's actually the love that you give to yourself, which is, in my opinion, the most important, because from there you can move on and do so many other great things, like actually find great love for yourself outside of that and acceptance in the community. But it all starts from yourself. And I think people get that mixed up. People kind of search for boyfriends or girlfriends to make them happy, to make them feel loved, for that good morning text that makes you feel special. But really, just you should be able to make yourself feel special. You should feel unique and beautiful and amazing without someone telling it to you every day. You should be telling yourself that, because one day that person is probably going to leave. Most of our relationships don't work out. And when that person leaves, you have to be strong enough to carry on. You have to be strong enough to love yourself and everything. And I think that's why our early relationships, our early heartbreaks are the most hurtful, because we haven't learned that yet. That person usually becomes all our affection in our life. I mean, for some people, they're lucky enough to get a lot of affection from their families, but there are other people, the people who are more likely to stay in abusive relationships and that sort of thing, that in which their only source of love is coming from that person. So obviously, when you take that person away, the person that you thought was going to love you unconditionally forever, it's gonna hurt like a motherfucker. And some people, it takes them a long time to get through, and that is time that can be spent on bettering yourself and making yourself happier, and it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. It's better that you start strong. You start by saying, okay, no, I have to love myself before I am searching for anyone to kind of ask to love me. Because even if they do love me, even if it's the most beautiful and the most pure love, and you think that they're never gonna leave you, shit happens. And even if they don't leave you, like you marry your childhood sweetheart, why would you want to be dependent on that person? What if it's making you blind to something that they're doing wrong? Like, I have plenty of friends that are stuck in relationships, and they always tell me, oh, but he has good moments. And I know, because oh, that girl that I was with, she had good moments too, but overall it wasn't good. Like, everyone has good moments. That's what makes humans so hard, and also why it's easy to forgive someone that you understand. And when you're in a relationship with someone, yeah, you understand them, and that's what makes you want to work through it, because commitment and getting through the tough times is all about having a good, long-lasting relationship. But if the foundation is crumbling and you can't see that, that's when you have a problem. And that's why I believe start strong, love yourself first, and then the rest of your life will just kind of slip into place. As long as you love yourself, as long as you have yourself, you're never really alone in this world, and you're never really sad because I'm sorry, like, okay, the only thing in life that you have control over, the only thing that you can't lose is yourself until you die. But then it doesn't matter because you're dead. That sounds really depressing, but you know what I mean. Like when you're living, there's a possibility that you can lose any person that has value in your life, anything that you feel makes your life valuable. But yourself, no. You have that to grow and change and to love. And so that is what I believe that you should do before all else. Because then you're going to attract the people, because then also it makes you better at relationships because you can tell when someone's not treating you the way that you should be treated. You want them to love yourself, to love you. You want them to love you just as you love yourself. You have a value on your worth. And then you have a lot of loves, and it makes life a lot better when you have a lot of love for yourself and when you respect yourself and all those good things. And so that is my one main thing that I wanted to talk about. Just like relationships are not all that, and they shouldn't be all that. And stand strong so that no one has to hold your hand.